Let's talk about it. 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 On the Vera Thomas Show. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited today to have my guest. And before I pull her up, let me share this with you. It's coming up.
Hi, I'm Ayo Haynes, and I am an award-winning real estate broker, best-selling author, certified mentor, and also a trailblazing single adoptive mom. I am dedicated to guiding single women on their own transformative journey to motherhood through open adoption. In my free Single Women's Adoption Blueprint, I share actionable strategies and wisdom to help women just like you navigate the open adoption process with confidence while building a strong support network and cultivating a loving home for their child. In
Okay, let me pull her up to the stage. For some reason, the video is choppy, and so we're gonna just
joy, and please reach out with any questions and comments.
I don't know what you're doing. I know you are, but I just
It's okay. I can do the whole thing myself.
yes. Well, I'm getting ready to. I just removed it from the stage. I mean, from the studio, and what I am going to do is just read portions of your bio. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Ayo Haynes. She is a pioneer to open adoption and a powerful advocate for single women pursuing motherhood. Her expertise encompasses the entire adoption journey from deciding to pursue motherhood through adoption to personal growth during the waiting period to successfully navigate open adoption relationships. Io challenges societal norms and empowers women to create the families they envision regardless of their relationship status. In today's rapidly changing social landscape, Io's message is more pertinent than ever. She delivers transformative guidance paired with practical, actionable advice that resonates with diverse audiences. Her approach to adoption and parenting is holistic, emphasizing not just the practicalities, but the critical role the early years play in shaping a child's mental, emotional, and spiritual being. Drawing from her personal experience as a single adoptive mother, Io advocates for a nurturing environment that transcends basic physical care. She addresses the whole child. That's what I'm talking about. Laying the groundwork for their future health and happiness. Her comprehensive approach offers valuable insights to those considering adoption, current adoptive parents, and anyone interested in learning about single parent adoption. As an expert who understands the complex nature of parenting and the unique considerations in raising adoptive children as a single parent, Io delivers powerful, engaging presentations that inspire, educate, and transform. Her passion, expertise, and actionable strategies make her an ideal speaker for events focused on family building, parenting, and personal growth. Ayo Haynes brings new possibilities to life, empowering audiences to embrace unconventional paths to parentinghood and family. Yes, that is Ayo Haynes. Yes, I'm so
Oh, thank
excited you're
you.
here.
Thank you for
And
that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for your show giving a spotlight to me on this topic that needs to be just shared more. So thank you.
yes, now we didn't have a lot of time to talk prior to the show, so there was a couple of things I didn't tell you that may surprise you. But anyway, I am going to give you the floor. And I would like for you to take some time and talk about your journey as a child. What was your childhood like? How did it shape you and mold you and help you to be the person that you are? What was the purpose and the passion that drove you to adoption? So I'm going to give you the floor and let
Okay.
you talk.
I'm actually glad that we didn't have a lot of time to talk beforehand, because a lot of times all the good golden nuggets get left before we start, like get left in the green room. So this is good. So I'll tell you about myself. I grew up in New York City, the daughter of a single mother. My parents were married, but my dad was a jazz musician, an international jazz musician. And unfortunately, he chose his career over family, and he was gone a lot. And it just led to a separation that eventually led to a divorce. So I grew up with my mother and her brothers and sisters who came around her to really give her the support that she needed as a very young mom of 21. So my mom was this dynamic woman. I didn't realize it then, of course, but later, as I look back over her life, I'm going, wow, this was an incredible woman who had such strength of courage and just who she was. So, she was had a child early, just like many women in that time period in her early 20s. Um, Marriage broke up, unfortunately, and she had to get a job. And she started working at a hospital in New York in their labs. And from there, she put herself through community school and eventually through her getting her BA. And then, I'm getting older and she's still going with her education. She ended up getting a PhD in divinity. That's how amazing this woman was, that put herself through school through this whole period. And, at, when I was in high school, she discovered, well, she finished her master's of divinity then and became a pastor. So I'm a late in life pastor's kid, right? I'm a preacher's kid, but I came to it later in life, and that might be a good thing. But
Yes.
I grew up in the church every Sunday. My mother grew up in the church from, every sacrament that you can think of. And she was actually the first African American woman ordained in the Presbyterian Church. So she was a trailblazer. She was making a way for other women who were following in her footsteps, but didn't quite know how to do that. And I guess, I look back and that's how I am now. I am setting the path for other women to feel comfortable doing it. And I'm by no stretch of the imagination the only person doing this and being a single mother, but it's not talked about as a viable option to become a mother. And I think that is what is really necessary today. What else can I tell you? I grew up playing sports. Sports was very important to me. Education, as you can imagine, with my mother having all these degrees. So I was a jock, but I was also a smart jock. And I got a scholarship to college in Boston and got my MBA in 5 years. So it was a 5-year BA MBA program. So I just accelerated everything, which is kind of my personality, right? I don't just take things on a little at a time. But I always, from the very beginning, imagined myself as a mother. I always wanted like 4 kids, husband, picket fence, dog, cat, you name it. I wanted to be that house where everybody came to, and that my children's friends would just call that place home. And I say that when in my 20s, I was having fun. I was acting. I was traveling around the world. I was on a TV show on a network that was just launching. I wasn't really thinking about kids. I wanted one still, but there was plenty of time. And then when I got into my 30s, I was building my real estate career. I had transitioned from acting more into real estate because I am a businesswoman, always have been entrepreneurial. I get that from my grandmother, who was, by the way, 4 feet tall, 4 feet 5 inches tall, would go deep sea fishing, catch a load of fish, bring it back in Harlem, fry it up and sell it. And that's what she did. And, it's amazing that in that time period, we're talking like the early 50s, 60s, this was a woman who was doing it. And she might have run a number or two in her Harlem neighborhood too. You get where I'm saying, what I'm coming from. Like, I come from a line of really strong women, not to say that I don't come from a line of strong men too, because my father was an incredibly strong man. He taught himself how to play the saxophone and actually created a whole career out of it internationally. So, I get it honest from both sides. But
well, you know
back
what? Kudos to you. And I'm going to let you finish. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to bring it back around to my 30s. I was like building this real estate career, and then when I looked up, Vera, I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm in my 40s. How did this happen? I was supposed to have kids long time ago. I was supposed to be married long time ago, and it's not like I didn't have suitors and I didn't date and have serious relationships. But at the time, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm at a place where this clock has seriously not only ticked, it has stopped, and I don't have a boyfriend nearby. And I had done something that I think a lot of women do, right? You go, okay, I'm going to get in a relationship, and okay, I have to wait about a year before I know if it's the real thing. And I don't want to sound desperate or seem desperate, but I really want to get married so I can have a baby. And some women do that, and some don't. I didn't do it. I didn't want to settle or sacrifice my happiness long term for a short term outcome where I knew there wasn't any place for it to have longevity. So I looked around and I started asking, what can you do? Well, obviously I can do IVF or IUI. I started fertility treatments without a partner. I was looking at sperm donors. I also was looking at people in my circle going, who could I ask to be the father of my child? And if they are in a relationship, how would that question go over with their spouse? Not well. And if they aren't in a relationship, but they feel stronger about me than I do about them, what kind of hiccups is that going to cause? And if I want to raise my child a certain way and they want to raise the child another way, are we going to have this fight? And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do this on my own. I had come from a mother who had, raised me by herself, obviously with support, strong support, but that's the route I took. However, I took it for maybe 5 years, spending thousands of dollars on IUI and IVF treatments because they're not cheap. And, remarkably and sadly, my mother passed away in 2014. And it was a declining kind of disease. She had stomach cancer. And I watched her, try to be strong throughout it. But there was one key day that I remember very vividly. This is at a time, if you've ever been with a person who is actively passing, right? They don't talk that much. It's a lot of sleeping. And I would just lay down next to her and I would just lay there. And one day, at that time, she opened her eyes and she was just looking at me, and I knew the end was close. I said, Mom, you know how much I want a child. When you go to the other side, when you go to heaven, please just hold on to that baby until I'm ready. And Vera, she just looked at me with deep knowing and no words at all. And she closed her eyes and went back to sleep. So I can fast forward to say to you that was the most trying and joyful year of my life, because that same year she did pass away. But 10 months later, I was holding a baby girl in my arms that I had adopted. Yeah, that the birth mother had chosen me. 10 months. And I knew God had his hand in this because the birth mother's due date was exactly 10 months to the day of my mother's passing. And
Oh
I
my
said, oh
God.
my
And you know
God.
what? I'm getting so emotional right now. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I said,
Oh,
oh, I said, she went up there and she pled my case to God and just knew that this is something that I not only wanted, but I needed because she and I were best friends. We lived in the same building. Like this woman had to kick me out of her house at 26 because she was like, look, you need to grow up. And so, and what did I do? I moved 10 floors above, right? I mean, I just was like, all right. So we were so attached and we traveled together, talked together. I'm an only child. So, it was a relationship that I absolutely wanted to duplicate with my own children. And
that's
so,
wonderful.
yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. And obviously there are finer points to the whole how the adoption process turned out and how I got there in
Well,
record
we'll talk
time.
about that. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that. I just want to, first of all, my condolences. I know
Thank
I
you.
lost my mother she was 44 when she died. And
Um,
so
but
I can empathize with you. And I know when you talk, what brought tears to my eyes is when you talked about laying beside her. And I remember doing the same
yeah,
with my not only my mother but my sister. I lost both my sisters, and the one, I laid there beside her, several times, and just so that just brought that back to me when you said that.
yeah,
Um, but your story is absolutely beautiful. And the fact that you had a mother that was a role model for you and a grandmother who was a role model for you is wonderful. And you are so blessed and so fortunate because there are a lot of single mothers out there that are at their wits' end and they don't know how to parent in the way that's going to bring a child to become the type of person that you are. And it's not their fault. A
right.
lot of times it's because of how they might have been raised, and in your case, you are now, you are doing some of the things that your mother did with you with your daughter. And you said your daughter is 9 now?
Yeah, she's 9 and she was born Christmas Eve, that year of the same year of my mother's passing, which was my mother's favorite holiday. So just in a miraculous year, like I said, challenging from the beginning, from 2014, the beginning of 2014, and then you get to what do they say? Joy comes in the morning, right?
Yes,
It
it
comes,
does.
it comes
Yes,
in the
it
morning,
does.
almost a year later, right? But I also say that I was blessed in that I could be there for my mother's passing, as difficult as that was. I actually held her in my arms as she transitioned. And then 10 months later, I held this baby as she came
Wow.
into this world. And that wasn't something that was expected because there was no communication between me and the birth mother. But there was a miraculous experience that happened within the hospital that caused that to happen.
Well,
And
tell us about it. Tell us about it.
it just so happened, there was no contact. There wasn't a whole lot of contact between my daughter's birth mother and me during the process. And because it's a difficult process, I think there's also there's a gatekeeper in the social worker as well. And I think when you are dealing with something so personal, and it's not easy for the birth mother to decide to do this, to give up. I should say give up because I changed the language. It's not give up. To make this decision with so much love that says that I need to make sure that my child has everything that I cannot give them. And that's a
So let
decision of love.
Yes. So was she a single mother? What
Yeah,
was
she
what
was
was her story that she ended up
she was
placing her
just very
child under
young.
your
She was a teenager, just a
Okay.
teenager. And, that like, people think that all birth mothers who are in the adoption process are young. But the birth mothers can be older women who've had multiple children who decide, you know what, I don't know how I'm going to feed another child. So, but in my particular situation, she was just young.
And how did
And
you connect with her?
I didn't connect with her until many years later. My contact was with her mother for the first few years because she was so young. But it was just an amazing situation where, so the reason how I got into be in the the delivery room is because I end up meeting the grandmother in the waiting room. And we kind of all, my aunt was there, my Aunt Pearl, who's like now, she was in her late 70s at the time, who stepped in as my mother because she was my mother's sister. She became my mother during this whole process. And so we just happened to be in the waiting room, and
Why were you in the waiting room?
because we knew that my daughter's
Oh,
birth
you
mother was
knew
in
that.
labor. She was in labor, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
And so, yeah, so I had been selected as, with intention to be the birth mother, I mean, so the adoptive mother. And we kind of looked at each other with like water in our eyes, tears in our eyes. And you're like, are you? And like, yeah. And my aunt just gathered us up in a huge bear hug and just comforted us both and was just saying to my daughter's birth grandmother, my niece has wanted to be a mother for so long. She's going to be the most amazing mother to your granddaughter. And we just cried, talked, and that was it. I was happy. I was like, oh my gosh, I finally met somebody in the family. And then within 5 minutes, she came back and said, my daughter wants to meet you. And
Wow.
she was in active labor. I went in, and we just had a chance to just have a conversation as human beings, two women. Actually, there were like three generations in the room on my
Wow.
daughter's birth mother's family side. And I said, you know what?
Wow.
If I had gotten pregnant as a teenager, my family would show up the same way, like three deep, right? Three generations deep. And I loved it. And we just connected and just decided we are going to keep in contact. And that's what she asked me. She says, do you mind if we keep in contact, with separate from the social worker? And that turned out to be a key decision. And we just kept texting each other. I would send photos, and it just developed. And that's why I can honestly say that I went from a place of not wanting an open adoption because of all the stereotypes you hear, and oh my gosh, this is going to happen and they're going to want to take the baby back and this, then the other. And it's kind of like it's given to you even when you go to the agencies. But the agencies are encouraging it, but you just hear all of this misinformation about adoption. That's why I'm here, to change how people think about adoption and what it means to be adopted and to be adoptive family, the adoption triad, which is the birth mother, adoptive parents, and the child. And so
Okay.
so we came together, and 9 years later, we celebrate my daughter's birthday, and the day we met, like pretty close to that day of her birthday. And it's been wonderful. And again, I went from a place of like, no, 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 I don't want to keep in touch with the other side, to like, this makes absolute sense. This is the healthiest thing for my child, for her to know both sides of the families that loved her from the beginning. One
Okay.
family that loved her enough to say, I want more for you. And from my side of the family, we're like, you have always been here. And I always say that my daughter is born in my spirit. I didn't carry
Oh.
her physically, but I carried her in my spirit.
And so let me ask you, so all throughout your daughter's life, her mother and her grandmother have been a part of her life?
To a degree, yes. I mean, it's not like it's every single day, but there's a app we meet up. She knows who they are. She gets to look in their faces and see who she looks like. She has a stuffed animal that she's named her birth mother's
Wow.
name. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just an extension, and is that as she gets older and the relationship changes, there it will evolve too, and she can spend more time. My thing about open adoption, right? There's no, just like adoption, period. No two adoptions are the same.
Right.
Um, and so you, with even open adoption, you want to use good judgment, and not every situation is going to lend itself for open adoption. However, I do believe with the right structure and the right guidance, the right coaching, and the right mindset, you can go for that, even to whatever little degree, and it will be helpful to the mental and emotional and spiritual health of the child. And
Okay,
there's
so
no
I have
shame.
some questions to
Yeah,
ask you. There are various types of adoption.
yes.
I would like for you to talk about the various types of adoptions. And if you can, share the pros and cons of each, that would be great.
Yeah, so most people think of adoptions, and basically before the 80s, the 70s, and the 60s, and much earlier, adoptions were closed. So that's what most people think of, closed adoptions, where there is no information that's being shared. The information is held by an organization or a charity in some file where the key may have been thrown away and locked up, and you just don't know. And I think those situations are the toughest, because you
Yeah.
have zero information about where you come from and who your family is, or the circumstances around your birth.
And I can
And
just imagine I know, I'm sure it leaves such a void in adoptive children who become adults and still don't know their history. And it
absolutely.
sounds and seems like that is a great disservice. But I guess there are, and I not only guess, I'm sure there are reasons why closed adoptions are exist. So can we talk
Well,
about some of the reasons why
yeah.
it
I
might be
think,
a closed?
I mean, it's very rare that there will be a closed adoption these days. It just, there are
That's
so
good.
few. Yes, it doesn't lend itself to the health of any people in that triad. So the closed adoption, it was just what they did back then, right? It was a
Right, because they
custom
didn't
that
know
wasn't,
better.
they didn't know better. They thought they did know better, but it wasn't better. It
Yeah,
was something that will, like you said, leave people with a lot of questions for the rest of their life. And that's not to say that there aren't people who don't know that they, or did not know that they were adopted until much later in life, which I think is also
yes,
very problematic and
yes,
something that could be avoided. And
yes,
I think that is not the best way to go about things. Um, then there's semi-closed, where you kind of know some information, but there's no interaction. You may know your mother's name or your father's name, but that's it. And you would have to then go and try to find them and get more information. The majority of the adoptions are open. However, people are not exercising openness within that terminology. That they know the birth family and the circumstances, but there's no relationship. There's no communication between the two. And so, what I am advocating is actually that you have a relationship with the birth family, and you also have a relationship, and goes both ways, right? But with mutual respect. Um, but it just lends itself for a healthier situation for everyone, right? The birth mother is not wondering where her child is and wondering if she's passing her child as she's walking down the street. She gets to see the milestone pictures. I get to call and say, hey, is there someone in your family who like is super tall? Because my daughter is very tall, right? You get to have this relationship and have a source of where questions can be answered. You also, the child is not feeling like, well, why, what happened? What are the circumstances of my life? It's just from a very early age, I was very frank. And there was nothing about frank. I just said, I couldn't have you physically. So God provided a woman to have you for me. And I am so grateful for her. And she was like, oh, okay. And so if you treat
And
it,
how old was she when you shared that with her?
maybe 2 or 3, you know,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's one of those things where if you don't make it a big deal, it's not a big deal. If you make it a
Exactly.
big deal,
And
it's a
that's
big
with
deal.
anything where children are concerned. That's with
Exactly.
anything. If you blow
Yeah,
it up and make it all of that, then it's going to impact on the
exactly.
child. Now, there are things that, of course, affect us, but we have to learn emotional intelligence to be able to deal with situations so that we are not impacting on our children. And so, my next question, and this is so awesome, so walk us through your process. But before you do, I do have a couple of commercials that I need to play. And so I'm going to do that and we'll come back to the part two of this interview.
Okay.
Been feeling myself for a minute. Hallelujah.
Hey there, Jason McNamara here, and I'm about to drop something truly game-changing your way. Are you tired of the same old 9-to-5 grind? Feeling stuck in obtaining the life you deserve and craving something more? Well, listen up, because I've got something you will not want to miss. Introducing the No More 9-to-5 Club Professional Membership, your ticket to freedom and success in the entrepreneurial world. With our professional membership, you'll get access to weekly coaching sessions, pre-recorded trainings, and a vibrant community of fellow game changers. You get access to technology that will allow you to automate passive income streams, as well as unlock all of our expert-led trainings in the back office so you know where to go for good advice when you need it. You will also use the club to build up a residual income stream with a 2-tier 33% affiliate commission unlocked at this level, allowing you to help people help themselves while generating a residual passive income stream for yourself. And here's the kicker. For a limited time, you can unlock all of this just for a $1.11 donation to our club foundation.
I like this one.
Your first month is on us. So what's holding you back? Click the link below, make your donation, and let's start building the life and business of your dreams together. Here at the No More 9-to-5 Club, we're all about turning dreams into reality and smashing through those glass ceilings.
That's what I'm talking about, Jake.
Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, we've got the tools and support you need to thrive and evolve. And don't forget to sign up for our bootcamp training. It's the perfect way to kickstart your journey and unlock even more perks. So what are you waiting for? Join the No More 9-to-5 Club today and let's make those dreams a reality. I can't wait to see you on the inside. You only get one now. Invest it in your better future. Let's make magic happen together.
No more 9 to 5. Let me tell you, this is a great organization with like minded people who are living or pursuing their purpose and their passion. There's the boot camp where there's all kinds of trainings for personal development and professional development. There are opportunities to create some residual income. And so it's a great, great organization to be a part of. And guess what? You can join for $1.11. Yes, for the first month. $1.11 just to check it out. And the proceeds go to veterans. So, what more could you ask for? An organization that's going to help you increase your thinking and your mindset, camaraderie with other people that have the same kind of mindset, a possibility to get residual income. And if you do have a 9 to 5 job, but you don't know really if that's what you want to do, or you have some other purposes and passions in your life and you don't know how to move and get started, check out No More 9 to 5. And I've put the link in the comments that you can check it out and tell them you heard it on the Vera Thomas Show. I have another commercial, and while I'm playing that, if you could put in the private chat how people can reach you, I would appreciate it.
Okay.
In a world where authenticity is the key, unlock your brand's potential with ADM's game-changing marketing solutions. We craft striking logos that embody your brand's spirit and build websites that captivate and convert. Our lead generation strategies are tailored to your needs, driving growth and boosting your bottom line. And our content, well, it's not just content. It's a narrative, a story that connects and resonates with your audience. But here at ADM, we're about more than just exceptional services. We're about authenticity, about staying true to who you are and what you stand for, because realness, that's what makes a brand unforgettable. So if you're ready to elevate your brand with authenticity and excellence, follow this page. Dive deeper into the world of divine marketing and become part of our community. Because at ADM, we're not just about making brands, we're about making brands matter.
ADM, Authentic Divine Marketing. Ariel Chime is amazing. All you need to do is give her your concept, what it is that you want, and she will create it. I have some videos of my own, and I will be sharing one later that she created for me. I'm telling you, she is, and she's genuine, authentic, divine marketing. The name suits her so well. And I've put the information in the comments so that you can contact her and have a meeting with her and talk about your plans for your business and how, and see how she may be able to help you. Authentic Divine Marketing. Check it out. All right. Now, let's get back to you. I do have some other commercials that I need to play, but I want to take this time to continue to chat with you, and let's talk about Ayo. Ayo Haynes. Yes. Okay. And let me put your information in the chat so that people will know how to get in touch with you. And also, okay, so Ayo, I asked the question before I did this. Do you remember what the question was?
You were talking about emotional intelligence, which I love because I just finished a course about that. And it's just making sure that we are not doing things that cause us more harm or our loved ones more harm, when we can just have a conversation and be truthful, right? People would always say to me, well, does she know that she's adopted? I said, of course she knows she's adopted. Why wouldn't she know that she's adopted? If you know she's adopted, why would she not know? Right?
Because in the past, so many, like you said, people grew up and a lot of times it's not until they're adults that they're even told that they were adopted. And that's devastating. That is a traumatic experience.
Right, because it also suggests a secret, and there's no secret, right? There's nothing to be secretive about. There's nothing to be ashamed about. And so if you can take that away from it, then you just are saying, this is how our family was put together by God. This is how, one woman who found herself in a situation that at the same time I was looking to become a mother, like God orchestrated that. He put that together to work. And that's why I'm such an adoption advocate, because if we can let people know or give a birth mother another option than one keeping a child under situations and circumstances that are less than ideal, that are going to be more devastating to the family's health and growth, versus adoption or terminating a pregnancy or adoption, right? We have given women an option that is really gratifying, because now you get to have a relationship with a child that you would have not known otherwise, right? And so,
Yeah.
and that's what I
And
really love about it.
nothing is by accident. So I would venture to say that adoptive parents, the children that you adopt, are the children you are supposed to have.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely. And
nothing is by
people,
accident.
no, and people remark, they're like, are you sure she's adopted? Because she looks just like you. I said,
And
I know that's
I
what,
saw her, and she does favor you an awful lot.
yeah. I was like, that's the glory of God. You're like, look what he will do. And so it's one of those things where we are all adopted into God's world anyway. We are all adopted from the beginning. Let's just start there, right? That is the absolute truth. And so, why is adoption this foreign thing that happens over there? Or, oh, because she couldn't have a baby, or she couldn't get a man, or she found herself in a situation, like all of these things. And no, right?
Yes,
We
and
are
that's
called to be there for each other and to adopt into, we were adopted into God's own family.
yes. And one thing that I noticed as you were sharing your story, you're not only beautiful, you're not only intelligent, you're not only smart, but you're also wise.
Oh, thank
And
you.
yes, you said some things. For example, you mentioned you had some thoughts about, should I meet somebody and connect with them, or should I go to someone that I know and connect with them? But then you processed it and thought about what the ramifications might be if that happened. And
Right,
so to make the decision, the bottom line is you wanted a baby, and it really didn't matter how you were going to get it, but you knew that there were ramifications with certain choices. So you
right,
chose this route, which was the best thing for you. And that
right.
is just wonderful. And we also know that you are a realtor. And I do want to kind of talk about that just for a minute. I'm going to pull up your logo and just kind of tell us a little bit about Haynes Team.
The Haynes Realty team. Yeah, I've been in real estate for 18 years now. I can't even believe it. It started on the set of a commercial and for Marriott Hotels. I was there doing a weekend long shoot and met another actor there who was disappearing between takes. And I was like, "What are you doing?" He says, "I have a real estate business back in New York." We became friends and I started working for him. And 18 years later, here we are. Never saw that coming, but it was also God ordained because actually, you make decent money in real estate, depending on where you are. And I've been blessed to have accolades in real estate. Like I've been on HGTV selling in New York and received national awards, but it also gives me the opportunity to pick my daughter up from school and to also take her to school, right? I can make my
Yeah.
own schedule. So there's that flexibility. And that was what I didn't have growing up because my mother had to work. As a generation, you worked 9 to 5 and you stayed in a job that you hated for 40 years until you retire because that's what you had to do, right? I
Yeah.
have a different option and the next generation will have a different option. And so that's my story about real estate. Still doing it. I'm licensed in New York and Connecticut, but my passion is advocacy for adoption, especially for single women. That you find yourself at a place where you are deciding, am I going to be okay living the rest of my life without having achieved this monumental, life-defining role, which is motherhood? And for me, the answer was no. I was not going to be okay with it. Um, and people say, "Oh, your daughter's so lucky she has you." I'm like, "No, I'm lucky I have her," right? Because
And
with that, after losing my mother, my best friend, it was I who knows what spiral I would have gone down, but I didn't have time for it. I had a baby to take care of, and I had a dream that was being fulfilled.
that is amazing. That is amazing. So let's talk about parenting. And what is it that, and I can just imagine you and me both on a platform talking about this. the parenting piece, because that's what I do, work with parents, children, and their fathers as well, separately and individuals. But anyway, let's talk about some nuggets. As a infant, what were some of the things that you did to help her in her development?
Well, one of the biggest things I did is I made my daughter's formula from scratch for a whole year. I did not like what I was seeing on the shelves. I did not think that it was a viable option for me to buy milk from another woman who I didn't know. I didn't know what they were ingesting, what the health was, or anything like that. It just didn't feel right. But I also knew that I did not like the ingredients that I saw in the store bought formulas. So I did a lot of research and I found a formula that I made every day for a year. And let me tell you, my family looked at me like I was crazy. And I traveled to a
So,
whole other. Mhm.
what were some of the ingredients?
Oh, so the
I
main
know it's
ingredient,
been 9 years, but
yeah, well, the main ingredient was raw milk, right? Unpasteurized milk. And you can't get that in New York. So I traveled to Connecticut every single week to get jugs of milk to um, to make her formula. And and there were lots of other ingredients, but it turned out to be the best decision for me. And she was healthy. She was a chunky baby, and very bright and very smart. And I didn't have to feel that I was sacrificing her health because I couldn't produce milk. And there are women who will take drugs in order to induce milk flow. I just didn't see that as an option for me, and I didn't see it was as it being healthy long term for either of us. Um, so that was one of the first things I did, literally first things,
that's
and I'm glad.
amazing.
So I made a lot of decisions based on how I wanted to um, be a mother. If I had been pregnant, I probably would have been doing a water birth. You know, I call it granola chic, you know, like I like my nice things, but I'm very down to earth kind of get back to nature kind of thing. So yeah.
Okay, so now let's get into the toddler age, and I'm sure I have no doubt in my mind that you read to your daughter.
Yes, all the time. I read to her. My aunt read to her. My aunt, I said, stepped in as not only my mother, but when my daughter was born, she stepped in as grandmother. And, initially my daughter was calling her auntie grandma, and then she just on her own dropped the auntie and went straight to grandma. And
Um,
I'm so blessed to have had my aunt in that role because she was a former Head Start teacher. So she had her reading and doing work early on. Like my daughter at 1 and 2 she was already reciting the whole alphabet, giving a letter, like an example for a letter. So A for apple, B for boy. Like she went through the whole thing. Very
one
bright
and
young girl.
2 years old.
Oh yeah, easy. Yep. And
And
she would
see,
say also. She said she would also say also.
let
So
me
funny,
say to parents out there, if you are not reading to your children, start doing so.
right?
I mean, one of the problems that we have in our school systems right now is that children can't read. And one
Yeah.
of the reasons they can't read is because they haven't been read to. And just like Ayo was able to start reading to her children, teaching her at 1 and 2 years old. As a matter of
Oh
fact,
yeah.
between the
Earlier.
ages of 0 to 5 years old is when kids are most pliable, when they absorb the most. So being able to pour into them at that age is
Yeah.
so important, so important. And that's why I was asking you these questions, because we want parents, even though we're talking about adoption, once you do adopt a child, then there are certain things that you need to consider to build them into intelligent, critically thinking children, emotionally stable children, and with that emotional intelligence. And okay, I'm going to shut up. All right.
Yeah. No, but it's so true. It's absolutely true. And as you may have heard, readers are leaders. And so, what better way to get your child off on the right foot by reading to them? It's such a bonding way of spending time with each other.
Absolutely.
They're, children are learning language not because also reading, but from hearing you speak. So how you speak to your child is just as important as what you are reading to
Yes.
them, and
Yes.
the words the edifying words. I hear parents use foul language in front of their children, even an
Oh my
expression, and
God.
or
Yes.
calling them that thing. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
ah,
And people, I know it makes me cringe as well. I remember being in a house, a grandmother who was raising a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, and she cursed like a sailor. Not
yeah,
only, I mean, her whole dialogue was every other word was a curse word. And even in talking to them, she would curse at them. I said to her, when these kids start school, and they're cursing at other kids and at the teachers, you don't have a leg to stand on because they're only
absolutely
doing what they've heard. So people think, and anymore, cursing is just it's how people talk anymore. But it's
right.
foul, it's derogatory, and the names we call each other, come on. We need to be
Most
uplifting,
kids,
encouraging,
yeah,
motivating, and inspiring each other and our children. And I
absolutely.
do have another commercial I need to play, so I will
Okay,
be right back.
make that.
Father, provider, protector, role model for a son, the image of the man that will be the husband of your daughter when that time comes. What's best for your children should be concern number one, regardless of any obstacles a father must overcome. Sometimes the injustices of our society towards many of our fathers can make it hard to stand, but you gotta stand and be a man and a father to your children in every way you possibly can. Demonstrate their worth through you by the words that you say and the things that you do. Don't ever put your children down or call them out of their name. They may become whatever you claim. Lift them up to higher ground. Let their inner beauty be seen, be found. Show them and tell them how special they are. Be the light. Be the light. Be the light to take them far. Show them and tell them how much you really care, and let them know no matter what, you will always, in all ways, be there. Pray that our fathers will be guided by the light to lead their children in the ways that are right. My name is Vera Thomas. I am a certified ICF coach, a speaker, a trainer, author, and poet. Okay, I don't need to. Oh, what happened? I lost her? Oh my goodness, she'll be back. Let me tell you, I am I've developed a program based on that poem and research. I've developed a comprehensive mastermind for fathers. Many people ask, well, why should a father come to your mastermind? Because number one, I've been very involved in the fatherhood initiative for close to 20 years. I raised a son as a single mom, and he's one of the most positive sons people you'll ever meet. I kid you not. And because I have trained to become the person that I am so that I can help fathers, but even more so, I grew up not knowing my biological father, and it left a void in my life. And so I don't want any child to feel that kind of void by not having a positive father figure in their lives. In addition to that, knowing that I used to drive Lyft and Uber in Georgia, and I would pick up girls at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning going to see some guy. And I would ask them, after building a relationship with them or a rapport, I would ask them, what type of relationship did you have with your father? And I'm telling you, most of them would say either they didn't have a relationship with their father or they had a poor relationship with their father. And therefore, without them saying it, they're out here looking for love in all the wrong places. So, fathers are so critical and so important in a child's life. And so, I just want to encourage you to come to my mastermind. It's scheduled for July 26th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I put in the chat a gift for you. Tips for fathers. And the registration is on the last page at the bottom. So check it out, and I hope to see you on July 26th. And Io is back. I don't know what
I can hear
happened.
you.
You
I
got
can't hear.
Oh, you can't hear me? I can hear you.
Oh, no.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Um, can you hear me now? Okay. We're having some technical
Oh man,
difficulties. So while she's trying to get her
I can't hear
sound
you.
back, okay, stick around, keep trying. I'm gonna do another video
Shoot.
and then we will be right back again. So hold on one second here. Let me find Mama Knows. Okay.
I
Okay.
can't
Can you
hear
hear
you.
me now? You still can't hear me? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Um, well, I tell you, here, let me play. I want to do chat bridge.
No. I can't hear you, but
You talk. Let me hear you. You got 3 minutes.
hearing anything. I can't hear you.
Okay. Well, you talk.
Unfortunately, I can't hear you. If you can hear me, you can always get in touch with me. My website is under construction. You have my email address in there, ayo@ayohaynes.com. I have a blueprint that is almost ready for any single woman who is looking to become a mother. It's going to walk you through the process. And then I have a fabulous webinar and masterclass that will take you right through the whole process. And such amazing things are coming around this subject. I can't even tell you the conversations that I'm having. It is resonating with so many women, especially career women, who have found themselves at a place where it's either they live the rest of their life wondering what society will say about their decisions, or they take ownership of their own life and their own decisions and construct a family that makes them happy. And it's not to say that you won't ever become a wife or find your partner. It's just saying for right now, you want to have a child, and there is a time limit on it for women, unfortunately. And because there is a time limit, you have to make a decision. I made a decision to be happy based on what I knew God put me on this earth to be. He put me on this earth to be a mother. And I actually would love to adopt again. So I might have to come on
Really?
your show again, Vera, for that one. But I
Okay.
want to empower women who are at that age in your late 30s, 40s, even early 50s, who have always wanted to be a mother, to throw off fear, throw off anxiety, throw off what people are going to say, and come have a conversation with me. I would love to just have a little one-on-one session, find out where you are, invite you into the community that's growing. I have a Facebook group also, and Vera has all of my information. If you want to get in contact, again, it's ayo@ayohaynes.com, and I can't wait to just meet you all.
Amazing. Well, listen, I appreciate you being on my show. And I just want to thank you. And you've given us a wealth of information. Kudos to you. Read my lips. Since she can't hear me, she needs to read my lips. And I want to thank our listening audience for being here and sharing with us. And we will be back next week. So, God, oh, and happy 4th of July. I'll be back on Thursday. Happy 4th of July. And this may be our last independent 4th of July. If our if we don't go out and vote, we need to vote. I'm telling you now, go and vote.
Yeah.
Our democracy.
Oh, I can hear you
is
now.
okay, our democracy is at stake, and that is no joke. I know we've heard it for several years, but now research 2025, the plan that Trump has for this nation. Research it 2025 and read for yourself the plans for America. All right, Ayo, thank you
Yeah.
again. And if you will hold on, we will be right back.
The Vera time